Starscream back for a Transformer review. Now let me just say a couple of quick things before I forget. Sorry for my absence, I've been very busy at the moment, had lots of things to do. I'm working on a project which you'll all find out hopefully very soon. And if you're on Facebook you'd have seen some of the experiments that were going on, but if you're not, you just have to wait and see. It will be done eventually, hopefully this year, fingers crossed. And number two, somebody asked me to review a film, and I have started doing it, okay? But it's going to take a bit of time, so I'm trying to get a couple of projects done at once, so you can appreciate that, but that will be done as well. Now that's out of the way, let's move on to the Transformers, shall we? Now, this is Flywheels, this is Battletrap. Weird little guys these are, both Decepticons. As far as I know, well actually I do know this for a fact, there is no Autobot alternative, so if you don't like the Decepticon ones, you're out of luck. So, should we take a look at these little guys, shall we? One at a time? Because, well, I use the word one at a time quite loosely because they split, they separate, remember. They've got one robot mode and two alt modes. Yes, it's very weird. But, try and talk about the character just quickly for them. Not that there's a great deal to go on, not like some of the other Generation 1 Transformers. Sketchy at best, more developed so in the comic book. But let's take a look at Flywheels first, shall we? Flywheels here is not overly developed. Now, as regards cartoon, he is briefly seen, if I recall, in the original opening to Headmasters, the US version, but don't quote me on that because I can't remember, but I think he's in it, but I'm not sure. But as regards having a real developed character and visual representation of him in the original show, you don't really get one. He's in the Headmasters, along with his counterpart, so that's quite interesting. And if you're looking to see these guys animated on screen, that's the only way to go, I'm afraid. But the comic book run is very good. Initially, I think he works... Well, initially he does work for the Decepticons. I think he joins the Mayhem Attack Force or Attack Squad, I think, led by Bludgeon, I think, at the time, if I recall. Not 100% certain on that one, but I think that's where it is. And eventually he comes to his end, I think, attacking Galvatron and Megatron when they go mad. Well, actually, Galvatron goes mad, Megatron's backing him up, and eventually Megatron goes, what's going on? But I think he's one of the ones to fall in the battle. And the original concept behind them is done by Shockwave. This is a later interpretation of what went on. And he was experimenting for triple changes, but instead he gives them two alt modes and one robot mode. So you can see the startings of triple changes. Shockwave did like experimenting with Transformers. Yes, and this guy was one of them. Now, from I read up the bio of the character, and he is apparently, I had to get that word in, I'm so sorry, I just couldn't help myself. I had to say apparently at least once or twice. Now it's twice, I think. He has a conflict with himself that he's constantly arguing because he's got essentially a split personality. When he goes into two alt modes, the personality has to split to operate and pilot both alt modes, and then he combines together. I suppose combining is the only way that I can describe it. Merge is another good word, and he is constantly bickering amongst himself. I don't quite know how it works unless he goes, hey man, what are you doing? You know what, I don't like your attitude. Yeah, I know, I can't help myself. I really don't know what's going on here. That kind of thing, I don't know how it works. He doesn't keep doing this, shifting from left to right, but obviously if you're working with him and you want a reliable teammate and he's talking to himself constantly, he's not going to reassure you. Can you cover my back? Can you cover my back? And he doesn't answer you because he's arguing to himself. So you can see the point, can't you? Not very reliable. As far as I can tell, they're good fighters, but if they're constantly bickering amongst each other, they're undependable and unreliable. So that's Flywheel, even though earlier on I called him Flywheels. I think the name is Flywheel. Okay, Battletrap. And as I said, there are only two of these, alright? Character is, again, he's got the same problem as Flywheel. He constantly argues with himself. And you can see the problem being, as I said, in actual fact, I'm not sure if it's Flywheels or Battletrap. The two, yeah, I think it's Flywheels actually. The two corresponding alt modes are jealous of each other. They fight it. I don't know what they're fighting over. Maybe because one of them's a jet and one of them's a ground-based vehicle. One of them would think he's superior to the other. And I would imagine this guy has the same problem, or it doesn't actually say. I can't find anything to back it up, whether they're jealous of each other or just the constant quarrelling because they can't make up their mind what to do. But Battletrap is an interesting one as well because he appears in the Generation 2 readaptation, was it Dark Designs now, where he's fighting against the Autobots, and I think he's taken back to the War Room. Actually, I know he's taken back to the War Room, and he's never seen again. So as to whether he dies or not is not quite sure. I mean, Flywheels dies, I think, at the hand of either Megatron or Galvatron, because I know one of them pulls his arm off. but I can't remember which one it was that pulled his arm off. You don't actually see Flywheels die, you just see a corpse missing one arm on the floor. Where Battletrap, I think, now let me just remember, yeah, I was right, he gets shot by Galvatron, okay, so I know what happens to Battletrap. But if I read rightly what I've read, if I read rightly what I've been reading, that didn't sound very clever. Well, if I've read it right, which I'm probably guessing I wouldn't have, although that would be pretty pointless me trying to explain something I haven't read properly, wouldn't it? He doesn't die, because he's later seen again, so I'm not quite sure where he meets his fate, this guy, actually. I think he eventually does. Well, I suppose the G2 would be the most sensible. He can't have met it in G1, couldn't he, because he wouldn't be in G2. Yes, that makes sense, doesn't it? Sketchy, yeah? Alright? I think that makes sense. So, yeah, and if you want to see him animated yet again, check out Headmasters, but don't watch it dubbed, watch it subtitled, alright? Please do yourself a favour. Alright, now to the toys, I think that's really what you want to see. Are they any good? And on face value, I've got to say no, but let's take a closer look. Alright, let's take a look at Flywheels here. Okay, let's first off his feet. Well, he doesn't necessarily have feet, does he? He just has a huge amount of tank tracks, which is fine from a face-on perspective, but you turn him sideways on and his feet are as big as he is. He looks like the letter L, and he has no real posability. Move his arms like that, okay, so he can, you know, do a chicken impression, you know, why not? No. And that's it. Does his head move? No, his head does not move. And that is as much as you get for articulation. Pretty disappointing, but then you've got to bear in mind these are Generation 1 toys. They were quite limited originally, quite blocky and unposable, a bit like most Generation 1 toys, so really you can hold it against him, but they'd be pretty pointless. Now, to transform them, they're weird, so you just pull up this guy up here. I don't often bother with transformations, but these are so simplistic that it really doesn't take any time. Now, this is apparently, this is meant to be some real-life Earth jet. I'm not quite sure, I've never seen a jet that looks like that. And the paint scheme is obviously quite uninteresting. The light really isn't picking this up. Wait there. If I bring that light up just a little bit. There we go. Oh, it's moving. Stay. There we go. That's a bit better. It's just red. There is no detail whatsoever, barring a rub sign. And it's pretty crap. Let's face it. It really is. Looks like one of those cheap toys you get, doesn't it? At a market or something. It's quite unpleasant. And let's go for this. What should we call this? I don't know what you'd call this, actually. That's it. I suppose as Generation 1 crappy tank figures go, he's up there with the best of them, any like Bludgeon. I mean, he is abysmal. Absolutely abysmal. Now, they do have a handgun. But the point being with the handgun is you can put it on either the tank or the jet. It looks ridiculous on both modes. But the most ridiculous aspect of that, ridiculous aspect of that, yeah, that sounds better, is the fact he can hold it in his hand, but he can't move his hand forwards, so he is stuck shooting the floor. So he can just shoot the floor. I suppose if you're running up to him from the side on like here, and you're running up along there, you can go like that. That's only if you're running up to the side of him. All you've got to do is quickly run round the front, and he's stuck, he can't do anything. So, Flywheels, or even Flywheel, he's not good. He's not a good toy. And I suppose I could recommend him, purely on the basis if you want Generation 1 toys, you're going to want the lot. And these are nice in the viewpoint that they are quite unique. Unique in a bad way, maybe, but they are unique. Alright, now let's look at the last one, Battletrap. Battletrap might actually even be worse in robot mode. You see, his arms here, well, you probably can't because he doesn't really have any arms. That is his arm. But he can't even do a simple chicken gesture. He cannot do anything. That's it. That's it for his arms. So essentially he has shoulders. Not particularly impressive. I mean, the heads on these guys are not too bad. I mean, I'll show you his head close up just for a point of reference, but they could be great, these toys, you see. Because they separate into two different alt modes, you've got a little bit more scope to make said robot mode a little bit more impressive. But it's not. It's such a shame. So here's robot mode. Yet again, his feet are rather large, and You know, he's not going to fall over, this guy. My one has a slight problem in the sense that the back wheels there are bent. I do not know how that happened. You see that? How did that happen? How did you, as a kid, pushing this along in a forward motion, I would imagine, or even a, I don't know, retreating a reverse motion, bend the wheels? How do you do that? They have to do that on purpose. There is no way on this earth. How do they do it? How do kids do these things? Can't be bothered. So, yeah, transformation with them. Exactly the same as the other guy. The head lives in the higher proportion there, and it's got a little helicopter. So, that aspect, the helicopter, is quite good. Obviously, yet again, absolutely no real detail or stickers on it. There's a little bit on the rear of it, but to be honest with you, it's not going to win any prizes. But the helicopter mode's quite nice. And the other mode, which we can call, what should we call this mode? We'll call it Throttlebot mode, because it looks like a little Throttlebot. There we go. And the little car, as I said, isn't too bad. As I said, comparatively speaking to Flywheel, there we go, got it right this time, Battletrap is slightly better. So out of the two of them, he's going to get the prize. But it's only going to be a crap prize, because they are both rotten. So, there we go. And as I said, how did that happen? How did that happen? Eh? Come on. So, all things said and done, are they any good? Battletrap and Flywheel. Well, as I previously stated, they are unique, but they're just unique in a bad way. They're not great toys. Characters are quite nice in the comics. As regards cartoons, there really isn't. And if you go by the Headmaster cartoon, still really isn't any character, because I don't know what it is with Japanese cartoons. Character development is not important to them. There's a few characters which are set primarily that they use, and the rest seem to be pooling around as comic relief. I mean, Scourge and Cyclonus were absolutely abused in the Headmaster's show. Whichever way you look at it, it's not fair. But at least they're animated, so you want to see these guys animated, it's the only way it's going to happen. But if you want to read some good backstory to them, get hold of the comic books. Alright, so that's me, that's Starscream saying sorry for the lack of reviews, or lack of doing anything, but I have got this project I'm working on, and I'm determined to see it through, and hopefully it'll be done by the end of this year. This year is fast running out, haven't got a lot of time, but, you know, fingers crossed. Haven't forgotten about reviewing your film, mate, but, as I said, I've started it, but I'm not quite sure when it's going to be done, but bear with me, it will be done. Okay, so that's me, that's Starscream saying take care, guys, and see you lot out there.
Tell me I'm crazy.
Mulder, you're crazy.
Goodbye, Jean-Luc. I'm going to miss you. You had such potential. But then again, all good things must come to an end.